And in today's review, we're taking a look at Sting. No, not that Sting. 2004's Sting. Releasing on April 12th, today we're going to break down whether it's worth you getting wrapped up in Sting's web, or should you just call an exterminator.
Rock and roll.
Let's dig in. Before we go any further, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. As I said, Sting releases on April 12th. I was able to see it last night thanks to AMC's Scream Unseen. If you go on their site, you can just type in AMC's Screen Unseen and get advance tickets to movies coming out 2 weeks to a month in advance. The fun part to this is that you don't know what you're about to be shown, so it's a mystery every time you go in. However, I was extremely excited that it was Sting. This movie has been on my radar since the first trailer dropped. I am a fan of creature features, but I was curious to see what they would do different in a spider movie because we've had tons of spider movies. Now, let's get into the story. The story follows Charlotte. Isolated in her apartment complex due to an ice storm, she befriends a spider that she names Sting.
Hey there, little guy. We're gonna call you Sting.
But through just a matter of days, she learns that Sting is very unique, unlike other spiders.
You grow twice as big in a couple of hours.
No, that is a physiological impossibility.
But as the story progresses, she soon learns that Sting is a threat as he raises chaos throughout the apartment complex. She's then put in an ultimate choice to have to save her family against her beloved new pet.
You got a problem with doors?
Now that's just a sum up of what it is. There is a lot more to the story I was pleasantly surprised to find out. The whole movie does feel like it's a love letter to 1950s classic creature feature horror movies. Subtly, I noticed that every TV in the film at some point had a 1950s black and white creature feature. And the movie does feel like that, even from its opening. It's got a very solid 5-6 minute opening that establishes that, yeah, Sting is the threat, but that there is going to be humor and that this film isn't going to take itself too seriously. But then you get into the title credits, which impressed me even more, because then it really felt like this was a classic 1950s era creature feature. And as you dive in more to the story, I guess what I'm allowed to say is it's not just about Charlotte. Everyone in this film has some unique role to play to where it is a whole family dynamic, not just one singular person. But there were a couple points, I will be honest, there were a couple points within the story I had some problems. There was seeds it felt like were planted for like a Willard type situation between Charlotte and Sting that just never happened. It would have been a cool concept if they had gone with it at least for one scene, but the foundation was laid for it, but it felt like they just abandoned that. That was frustrating, but it wasn't enough to hurt the overall experience of the story itself. That was nerve-wracking, and there was one point where something is revealed to a character that was devastating in the moment and should have had more, I felt, of a lasting impact. But then you cut to the next day and it's as if that previous devastating news never happened. Everyone's just fine. So I don't know why we threw that in. It really felt like the movie in itself needed a couple more scenes to flush it out. I do like the original ideas they brought to the table having to do with a spider creature feature. So, the story, it's good. Now let's get into the acting. Overall, I don't really have any complaints about any performance in this film. Everyone showed up, everyone delivered. I believed everyone's character, I believed everyone's performance. So I really don't have any complaints. The one that stood out to me was Ryan Core, his character. I really believe he portrayed a struggling new father very well, from not only being a new father, but a new stepfather, and having to work a day job while pursuing a dream. Like, those things all wrapped up into someone that feels like, that's at least portrayed like they're breaking. That was an element that I really did love about this, and his performance did stand out as very believable. So, sum up, no bad performances. Now let's get into the gore. This is a rated R horror film, after all, about a giant spider. So I was expecting a little bit more gore than what we got. Yes, it did look as though most of the effects were practical, and CGI was put in where needed. What CGI was used, I didn't mind. But when it comes to the threat level of what Sting actually is, I expected more drug out kills, more gore, more body horror. And it's not to say those things were not there, they just were not there long enough. I mean, a couple of times the kills were instant, and I just felt that should have been more fleshed out. I should have been cringing more in my seat than I was, if that makes any sense. But for what was there, it was good. It was good. Alright, so in sum up, I actually did enjoy Sting. Did I get everything I wanted out of it? No. But for what it did give, it is a solid horror film. In terms of everything, it's 3 slashes out of 5. I would suggest streaming it rather. I mean, I'm sorry. I think this would have been better on streaming. But go out, see it at least for once. You know, it's worth one watch. There are parts of it that I really enjoyed that were original. And like I said, it does feel like a love letter to the 1950s creature feature era. There's just some things I felt could have been better or better done, but it's not my story, not my movie. But for what was presented, I would definitely say go out and watch it at least once. When and if it hits streaming, find it, watch it. It's good. Alright guys, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this review of Sting. Hope it makes up some minds whether you should go out and see it or wait. But if you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, definitely subscribe. We just reached over 100 subs. We want to keep that going. We have more filming location videos to release, and pretty soon we're going to be going to Full Moon Horror and Tattoo Con, so we'll have a whole video on that. Till then, see ya.
You know we have to do with this together.